For too long, we've been telling kids what to do, rather than showing them how. Effective instruction always involves modeling and guided practice in one form or another. Debbie begins her reading workshop with explicit instruction, modeling her own thinking.
I'm going to read to you this story, like I was saying, Yanni Rubbish. And as I'm reading the story, I'm going to be thinking out loud about the things I'm wondering as I'm reading. So I'm going to read a page, and then I'm going to say, if I come across something and I go, what does that mean? I'm going to record it and write it down on my Post-it. Now, for the first 3 or 4 pages, your job is to really look at me and listen and notice what you see me doing and what you hear me saying and what you see me thinking. Okay, this is the way it starts. Yanni came out of the house pulling on his cotton trousers, his dark hair falling over sleepy eyes. His mother had left early to work in the village bakery. His father was in Germany helping to build skyscrapers for the very rich people. Now, when I'm reading this, when it says his father was in Germany, I'm wondering, well, where is this? Where is this happening? So I'm going to take my Post-it and I'm going to write, where is this happening? And then I'm wondering if his mom is...
She demonstrates her inner conversation with the text as she reads.
So on this page, I'm wondering 3 different kinds of things, right? And as I read, I might find out the answers, or when I get to the end...
Debbie stops to explain how she recorded her thinking on Post-its.
Do you see? And look at, just on this one little page that doesn't have very many words, I'm asking all of these questions. How can he save the business? And what's the deal with the stonemason? How does that connect? Why is he not in school? I need a question mark there. Who are they? I'm going to underline they, because that's the part I'm wondering. And why the tears? See, I have all these things I'm wondering about in this book. Do you see how it works? Now, before you start doing this on your own, let's talk just a minute about what you noticed me doing. Think a minute before you raise your hand. What did you notice about what I did when I was thinking out loud? What did you notice?
You were asking a lot of questions.
I was asking a lot of questions. Corey?
That you always stopped. You never said, oh, I'm just going to skip this question because I really want to finish the book. You always stopped to ask your questions.
I took my time, didn't I? Now, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to read, and when I read, I'm going to be writing my questions down too, but I'm not going to be saying them out loud. I'm going to be thinking about the questions in my head and recording them, just like I did here. And you get to do the very same thing. This is a time for you to just think in your own head about those things that you're wondering about. That's all you need to keep track of. Put your thumb up if you understand everything that we're going to do. Okay, let's go. I can't wait to see what you do. After he had hitched Lamia to his wagon, Yanni climbed up.
Now the children will have an opportunity to practice writing down their own questions.
The business going. They think it's a joke, but I'll have to think of something to stop them. Now think about what we just read and write down what you're wondering. Start with number 1. One question on a Post-it. Even if you're not finished with your questions yet, I want you to get it so that you can make sense of what you have, and then just sit up and look at me just for a moment. Are you ready, Kenta? Thanks. What I'd like for you to do now is take like just a minute to look over the questions that you've asked as I've been reading this story. And as you're reading them, think about, what's the question that I care about the most? What's the question that of the ones you've asked you're considering are most important? And then when you've chosen one, after you've read them all, I want you to choose turn to your partner and just take a few minutes to talk about the thing that you're wondering about the most so far in this story.
Why was there so much trash? And my favorite one is why was there so much trash? And why are they such
Fabulous. Did you love this? We're so good.
We mostly had about the friends in my life. If they're his friends, why would they be teasing him?
You know what? The most amazing thing is every single child I talked to, they had the very same question. Why would they if they were friends? Why are they teasing him, right? That's a big question.
And why aren't they helping him?
Why aren't they helping him? So smart.
Why are they such bullies?
We really think words are fun in here. Yeah.
Leslie teaches her students to use the strategy of inferring to figure out unfamiliar vocabulary words in context. She uses an anchor chart to record the process.
This is a book we're going to use a ton next year.
To understand the concept of suffrage, Leslie guides the students to merge their background knowledge with the information in the text.
What's our word you didn't know?
Repeat it.
You want me to read it again? Okay, and that's exactly when I'm sitting conferencing with you guys. Sometimes I'll have you do that, won't I? The vote for women was a hot issue. Grant was running for re-election. Suffrage for black men came first. Suffrage. Okay, hold on a sec. So, we have that. It actually talks, now I'm going to read both sentences that it's used in so you can hear the context. Suffrage for black men came first, he said. Women would have to wait. Besides, many sensible people thought women's suffrage would be the end of the family. So we're still on page 133. And we've got suffrage. And as always, guys, I will type these up for you and put them in your books. What do we think? Mackenzie?
Like suffer?
To suffer. Why do you think that?
Because it has like stuff.
It does. So you're looking at the way the word is written, aren't you? You're chunking it, and it looks very similar. And that's a strategy we've learned in here, isn't it? Okay, so suffer. What else? What else could that word mean? Jacob?
It could mean like left out.
Let's take a look. Suffrage for black men came first. Suffrage for black men. Suffer for black men came first? Does that work? Left out for black men came first?
No.
Chris?
Voting.
Voting? Okay, so you're changing it around, if we really look at that sentence, to maybe it's a good thing?
I think it's sort of like working for them to vote, not actually having them vote, but fighting to get them to vote.
Fighting. How do you know that? What are you pulling
I know
off?
because there's another book that I read.
So you're using another text to text, aren't you? Yeah, works. That's what happens. Okay, suffrage is, it is a noun, the right to vote. So right now, will you guys, in your mini lesson section, write down the way you are going to remember that word. Okay, it could be a picture, it could be a connection, a word connection, a way that you could remember it. Sure you could. Of a voting, you know? You know what I think of a lot of times, the way I remember it, is I think of women in suffrage, but I think of women holding big signs saying, give us the vote. Have you ever seen like movies that do that? And you've got that vote, vote, vote. Absolutely, absolutely. So come up with one way. Turn to your neighbors and share. Chris.
Well, I put a woman going into a vote booth to show that, you know, that they had the rights.
Tay?
I drew like lines like sideways that said suffrage on them, and I put another line across when I did 4, so they're kind of like tally marks.
Why? Why tally marks?
Because it has to do with like voting and everything.
Okay. All right. Sarah.
I did a protesting sign that says vote,
Okay.
and then above it I put let women, and then together it says let women vote, and then I circled the word vote.
Right.
Explicit instruction also takes place with small groups of students who have similar needs.
Kids, what I think we're going to do now is read a section together and then talk about what we think the big idea is in that section. You know, one of the most important ideas, okay? And sometimes that's easy to find out and sometimes it's not so easy, so you really kind of have to think. Alrighty? Flying leaps. I'll do the reading and then we'll think about it, okay? Why do humpbacks
As the
breach?
students
No one is
practice
quite sure.
determining
Some
importance
scientists
in the
say humpbacks
text,
breach because
Mary
it helps them get
monitors
rid of
how
whale
well they
eyes and
use this
barnacles.
strategy
Barnacles
to
are tiny
understand what they
shellfish
read.
that bore head first into their skin. When humpbacks slap their big bodies down on the water after breaching, whack, goodbye pests, they hope. Some scientists think humpbacks breach to threaten smaller whales with their big size, and still other scientists believe they do it to communicate with each other. Maybe there isn't just one answer. Those two paragraphs, what would you say they're mostly about?
Why humpbacks breach
Okay,
and
all
the
right.
ideas that they have.
The ideas that
They have
who?
the scientists.
Scientists have about why they breach, right? And Graham, what would you say after, what did you learn after reading those two paragraphs?
That there's lots of different reasons that they might breach,
Right.
and scientists don't know the answer yet.
We don't know the actual answer, do we? So good. So do you see, I would say that those are the big reasons, the big ideas about what's going on in there. So why don't you quietly, just as we are here as a group, read the next subheading to yourself in the next section. And then when you're finished, we'll talk again about what you think is most important. All right. So deep sea singing, that's the subheading. What would you say is a big idea in that section, Alyssa?
Well, it's telling you why the whales sing.
And it's similar to the other section, isn't it? Because they're speculating. Nobody knows exactly why, but they're giving you some ideas and some possible reasons why they sing. Okay. Other big ideas. What did you think was most important in that section, right?
I think why they sing
Okay.
and that they sing in different ways and
Okay. I think I have to agree that probably what's the big idea here is that they sing to communicate, but we're not really sure the exact reason why. Okay, but they do it to communicate with each other. As you're reading the rest of this article, I'd like you to kind of think about that section by section. What is most important here? What would be the big idea here? What am I supposed to learn? Okay? Can you do that? Okay, thanks. Good job.
Hey, Molly. What are you reading today?
Little Rabbit Feet.
Oh, I love this book. So what have you been asking yourselves questions as you read?
Conferring is at the heart of the Reader's Workshop. Conferences are both instructive and reflective. They give children time to reflect on their reading and teachers time to teach as needed.
What story are you on?
I'm on this one, the sick day, because I got sick before my dog, and then my dog got sick. And that's what happened in this book. So then I knew how to read it because when I read this first page, I knew that I did this before. So now it's like my life is going on again.
Really? So your
That
life
time.
is, so you mean you made a connection just right from the very beginning? Mm-hmm. Now tell me the part about how your life is going on again. That sounds so interesting.
Because that's exactly like my life. Because that's what happened in my life.
Can you show me the part? Like, where's the exact part when you're going, this is just like my life?
This part.
Oh, the part where he had a sore throat?
Uh-huh.
So then you were making a connection because that has happened to you.
Uh-huh. And then my dog got a bad. And then my dog got something, sickness. And at the end, he didn't die then. I gave him a kiss on his nose. And I thought that was, so then I knew how to read it because it was like my life again.
So you're saying that when you're reading and then you're thinking at the same time making those connections, then it's helping you read it because it's like you're living your life again? So is that, and how do you think that's helping you understand the story even more?
Because I still remember that time. So so when I read this book, it sounded like my own life.
That's cool. So then you could just make that connection and then you go, I get it. You get the story when you do that, right? You know what I would love is if when we go share, do you think you could share that with the other kids? Because what you're saying is so smart and I think they could learn from you.
Do you need help from me? Do you need anything from me as a reader?
Sometimes, conferences begin with the student's question.
Yeah, but I don't get the blurb on the back.
Perfect. Ask.
Well, it's like he's Bud's running along the railway with his friend Bugs. I don't know how his friend Bugs, who's at the foster home right now, I have no idea why they named him that. But they're running along the train. Bugs jumps in. Bud throws his suitcase to him, and at the very end, he just barely gets in the train. I don't get where that connects into the whole thing.
Oh, and you know what? This is a different blurb, isn't it? This is so cool because most blurbs,
Tell us what this story's about.
yeah, they give the gist of the book. What is this blurb?
This is something that's going to happen in the story.
Yeah, you know what they did? Instead of having somebody just write a gist of the book, they got into the book, to the text, and lifted out a section. So knowing that, and you just told me, I think that's going to come in later in the book. Does that help that make a little more sense?